Hello ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. I know you're all sitting on the edge of your seats wanking like chimps on a branch. So without further delay, I present to you my first look and flight of the DCS. Fuck, wrong airport. I'll edit this out. This looks like the correct airfield. Now we just have to wait for whatever this is to get out of the way so we can continue the video. Welcome ladies and gentlemen to my first look and flight of the DCS Christen Eagle II. Like the tradesman's knock in the opening scene of an adult cinema classic, no first look and flight can begin in earnest without first taking a quick glance at the externals. The external model looks fantastic, and when it comes to the sheer quantity of liveries, one quickly realises the Christen Eagle II is hung like a donkey on steroids. Like a gynecology intern with first day anxiety, I'm just dying to get inside. Beginning in the student front pit, the first thing you'll notice is the aircraft is nearly new. You'll notice it's a lot cleaner than a nearly new military aircraft. That's generally because the guy who cleans it also flies it and buys it. Additionally, because it's a civilian aircraft, there are a lot fewer knobs and gauges. And this is one of the areas where M3 Leatherneck have really excelled themselves. The textures create a well-maintained sense of use. There are bumps and scratches, but it's also clean. The gauges create the correct illusion of depth, and the wear and tear appears in all the right places. Now, as promised, we'll take a look at the back seat. This is the nerve centre of the aircraft, so it's where the instructor or solo pilot sits. Lights, throttle, mixture, prop and fuel controls are on the left-hand side along with the vertical trim. There are helpful checklist cards pinned on the front left. There are a couple of small errors on the first card, but this is a pre-release version and I don't suffer from Asperger's, so it doesn't spoil my enjoyment of the aircraft. Again, as with the front pit, everything looks as it should and the textures overall are really impressive. Startup involves turning on the battery and setting the alternator to field, but don't turn on the radio. If you start the radio before you start the engine, the sudden spike in power could cause it to blow like your girlfriend did before you proposed. Priming the fuel pump should be reminiscent of your poverty-stricken college days as a rent boy. Turn the magneto switch to start and hold, wait for the props to catch, slam the mixture forward, and you're golden. One thing guaranteed to scare the inexperienced pilot shitless is taxiing in the tail dragger. However, on turning onto the taxiway for the first time, I quickly realised my fears were unfounded. On the Christen Eagle II, the tail wheel is linked to the rudder. As long as there's weight on the tail, it provides effective steering. To have a smooth, emotionally uncatastrophic takeoff, you need to do a number of things in quick succession. Because of the biplane configuration and the forward position of the wheels, it's much more forgiving than World War II tail draggers. You need to be smooth, gentle and not yank the stick like you're finishing yourself off before your wife walks in with the shopping. Shortly after takeoff, the Christen Eagle II emerges from its awkward laval tail dragging state into a beautiful aerobatic butterfly. Operating the Christen Eagle II is like using a fleshlight for the first time, or for those who don't play flight sims, it's like making love with a person for the first time. There's an overwhelming sense of pleasure, but you know if you rush things, something's going to bend, break and tear, and you'll end up curled up on the ground in a crumpled, bloodied heap. This is your ADI, and before you scoff, when used in conjunction with the Horizon as it's meant to be used, it's remarkably effective. In level flight, the CE2 is remarkably stable, trimmed to your airspeed and all your worries drift away, but that's not why you want the CE2. I'll preface what I'm about to say by stating I have no aerobatic experience either in real life or sims, so take what I'm about to say with a truckload of salt from the original announcement threads in the forums. This aircraft opens up a whole new aerobatic world within DCS. The flight model is extremely credible, it goes to the very edge and beyond, and at no point does it feel like it's on rails. While I completely fuck up some easy stunts like a retarded ham-fisted orangutan suffering from a head injury, let's discuss what it brings to DCS. The CE2 makes a number of firsts in DCS. It's the first purely civilian use aircraft to arrive in DCS. I know some of you become more touchy than Kevin Spacey at a bar mitzvah every time civilian aircraft are mentioned. However, in my view, more variety means more people, and bringing more people to a niche hobby can only improve things. I also know that the criteria for the aircraft I want is almost as non-specific and wide-ranging as my criteria for suitable ladies. But I'm of the view that there's enough room for everyone in the game. The CE2 is also the first biplane in the game, and before you start telling me you only fly straight planes, I'm talking about the fucking wings. Having a biplane in the game can open some interesting tangents for developers. Finally, the CE2 is an absolute blast to fly. This is a pre-release version and as always everything is subject to change, but I really like what I'm seeing so far. There are a couple of little quirks, one of them being the suspension, which I'm sure will be ironed out fairly quickly, but apart from that it's a really solid entry. Before I wrap up, I'd just like to thank Michael and everybody at Leatherneck Simulations for giving me the opportunity to try out the module pre-release, and of course congratulate them on a job well done. The CE2 releases on the 23rd of this month with a price tag of $30. That's 8 cups of coffee, 2 lunches, or the price your mum demands to use her servant's entrance, if you know what I mean. For those sailor boys among you asking if it's carrier capable, of course it fucking is. All that's left to say is, thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to dislike or tell me to go fuck myself below.